Have you ever stood in awe gazing at the pyramids and wondered how a civilization so magnificent could just disappear? For over 3,000 years, ancient Egypt was a beacon of power, innovation, and culture. But what led to the rise of this incredible kingdom, and what secrets does its eventual fall hold? Let's journey back in time, along the fertile banks of the Nile, to uncover the story of the birth, glory, and collapse of one of the greatest civilizations in human history. Our story begins around 3100 BC. Before this, Egypt was a land of two halves, Upper Egypt in the south and Lower Egypt in the north. Then a legendary king, often identified as Narmer or Menes, united these two lands. This unification marked the dawn of the early dynastic period and the very first of Egypt's 31 dynasties. With this unity came a centralized government, a divine king known as the pharaoh, and the birth of a culture that would captivate the world for millennia. The capital was established at Memphis, and from there, the pharaohs, seen as gods on earth, ruled over a newly unified people. This political stability was the bedrock upon which the entire civilization was built. Following this initial period, Egypt entered its first golden age, the Old Kingdom, often called the Age of the Pyramids, from around 2686 to 2181 BC. The pharaohs commanded immense resources and labor. This was the era of legendary builders like Djoser, who commissioned the first step pyramid at Saqqara, and Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, the masterminds behind the Great Pyramids of Giza. These weren't just tombs, they were monumental statements of the pharaoh's power, his connection to the gods, and his journey into the afterlife. The society was highly organized, with a complex bureaucracy of scribes and officials managing everything from grain storage to tax collection. Art and religion flourished, centered around a complex pantheon of gods like Ra, the sun god, and Osiris, the god of the underworld. The belief in the afterlife was paramount, driving the intricate mummification process and the construction of these elaborate tombs, filled with everything a pharaoh would need for eternity. But no golden age lasts forever. As the Old Kingdom drew to a close, the pharaoh's central authority began to weaken. Power shifted to regional governors, or nomarchs, who started challenging the king's dominance. Coupled with a series of severe droughts caused by low Nile floods, Egypt plunged into chaos. This era, known as the First Intermediate Period, was a time of civil war and famine. The unity that had defined Egypt was shattered. Then, a new line of powerful pharaohs emerged from the city of Thebes, reuniting the country and kicking off the Middle Kingdom, from about 2055 to 1650 BC. This period is often seen as a classical age of art and literature. The pharaohs were now portrayed less as distant gods and more as wise shepherds of their people. They focused on infrastructure, digging canals to improve irrigation, and fortifying the borders to protect against invaders. Trade expanded, bringing wealth and exotic goods from across the ancient world. It was a time of renewed stability and cultural renaissance. However, this prosperity eventually attracted unwanted attention. A mysterious group from Western Asia, known as the Hyksos, infiltrated the Nile Delta. With their superior bronze weapons and horse-drawn chariots, they eventually seized control of Lower Egypt, shattering the Middle Kingdom and beginning the Second Intermediate Period. Once again, the Egyptians were divided. But the spirit of Egypt is one of resilience. The Theban rulers in the south learned from their conquerors. They adopted their advanced military technology, the composite bow, the chariot, and after a long struggle, a warrior pharaoh named Ahmose I drove the Hyksos out of Egypt for good. His victory ushered in the most glorious chapter in Egyptian history, the New Kingdom. From 1550 to 1070 BC, Egypt was an empire. This was the age of legendary pharaohs whose names still echo through history. We have Hatshepsut, the powerful female pharaoh who ruled as a king and launched massive building projects. There was Thutmose III, a military genius who expanded Egypt's borders to their greatest extent, creating a vast empire stretching from Nubia in the south to the Euphrates River in the north. And of course, there was Akhenaten, the heretic king, who abandoned the traditional gods in favor of a single deity, the sun Diskaten, a radical religious revolution that shook Egypt to its core. His son, Tutankhamun, the famous boy king, reversed these changes. But his tomb, discovered nearly untouched in 1922, gave us an unparalleled glimpse into the wealth and splendor of this era. And we cannot forget Ramesses the Great, or Ramesses II, a master propagandist and builder who reigned for 67 years. He fought the Hittites at the Battle of Kadesh and left his mark on Egypt with colossal temples like Abu Simbel and the Ramesseum. The new kingdom was Egypt at its peak of military, economic, and cultural superpower. So, with all this power and glory, where did it all go wrong? The decline was not a single event, but a slow, grinding process. Externally, Egypt faced relentless pressure. Mysterious invaders known as the Sea Peoples wreaked havoc across the Mediterranean, weakening many great empires, including Egypt. Continuous wars with the Libyans and Nubians also drained the treasury. Internally, the cracks were also showing. The power of the pharaohs began to wane as the priests of Amun-Ra at Thebes accumulated immense wealth and political influence, sometimes rivaling the king himself. There was social unrest. Labor strikes like the one by the tomb workers at Deir el-Medina and widespread corruption. The succession of pharaohs became weak and fragmented. After the death of Ramesses XI, the new kingdom officially ended, and Egypt splintered once again in the Third Intermediate Period. The country was divided between rulers in the north and the high priests of Amun in the south. This fragmentation left Egypt vulnerable. Over the next several centuries, it fell under the control of a series of foreign powers. First came the Libyans, then the Nubians from the kingdom of Kush, who established their own dynasty of black pharaohs and genuinely tried to restore Egypt's old traditions. But they were soon driven out by the mighty Assyrian Empire, who sacked the great city of Thebes. Egypt had a brief moment of independence, but its glory days were long gone. In 525 BC, the Persian Empire conquered Egypt, and the pharaohs became mere governors in a foreign land. Although they occasionally rebelled, Egypt's fate was no longer in its own hands. The final act came with the arrival of Alexander the Great in 332 BC. The Egyptians, weary of Persian rule, welcomed him as a liberator. After his death, his general, Ptolemy, took control, establishing the Ptolemaic dynasty. These new rulers were Greek, not Egyptian. They ruled from the new cosmopolitan city of Alexandria, a center of learning and culture. While they adopted some Egyptian customs to legitimize their rule, the heart of the old civilization was fading. The last of this line was the famous Cleopatra VII. She tried to navigate the treacherous politics of Rome, allying herself with Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony. But her defeat at the hands of Octavian, later Emperor Augustus, at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, was the final nail in the coffin. After her death, Egypt was annexed as a province of the Roman Empire. The age of the pharaohs was officially over. The ancient religion was gradually replaced by Christianity and later Islam. The hieroglyphic script was forgotten, its secrets locked away for centuries, until the discovery of the Rosetta Stone. The temples crumbled, and the sands of the desert slowly reclaimed the monuments of a once unbeatable civilization. From a unified kingdom built on the lifeblood of the Nile to a global empire and finally a province of Rome, the story of ancient Egypt is a powerful lesson in the cycles of history. It reminds us that even the mightiest of civilizations can fall, but their legacy, carved in stone and written in papyrus, can truly achieve immortality. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through time. If you enjoyed this exploration of ancient Egypt, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments which civilization you'd like to explore next. Until then, stay curious,